Good morning, good afternoon, good noon, depending on where you are. Good day. Let's get going. My name is Ben Chubane. I'm the president of Phoenix TS. We are a certification training organization. We've been in business since 1998 and located in Maryland, but we actually do training, professional training for the US government, US military, and private sector organizations around the world. Um, and one of our first, one of the exciting partnerships that we've uh, created here is with AI certs, AI certifications. This is a newer certification body focused on AI, and I got to say the content's amazing. I'm so happy to have from AI certs Philip Govinda, who is going to be our speaker. Philip comes is an experienced IT instructor and subject matter expert, specializing in AI certifications, of course, but also things like Cisco, CompTIA, Microsoft, project management, and he's got over a decade of experience in IT industry. Philip has built a reputation for making complex technical concepts accessible and engaging through practical real-world instruction. We can see that right here today. He's led a lot of different classes, workshops, webinars on AI integration, but also cybersecurity, network automation, and so on. But beyond teaching, Philip is passionate about lifelong learning, mentoring future IT leaders, and helping organizations strengthen their security and AI posture through effective workforce enablement. Philip, we're so excited to have you here. Looking forward to the presentation. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that great introduction, Ben. I appreciate you guys having me here today. So a lot of good stuff we have to cover today. We're really going to be talking about how AI has moved from being a futuristic concept to more so of a present day necessity in a sense. And it's no longer something that only engineers or data scientists will think about. It's now something that every executive, decision maker, they have to really understand and incorporate it into their everyday lives. So AI really, it's not isn't just changing how we work. It's changing now how leaders are going to think, make their decisions, and just drive results for better practices. So in this whole session, we're going to focus on how executives can use these different AI tools to make better decisions, enhance governance, and just altogether innovation. So by the end of the lesson today, we're going to just give you a better understanding of how AI is reshaping the boardroom, like the title says, what skills leaders are going to need to stay relevant, and just how organizations can use AI to turn disruption into opportunity. So with that introduction, let's dive right into our first topic. And as we're going through this, feel free to drop your question in the chat, guys. There's a Q&A section there. We'll get to all the questions that you guys have for us today.
Yeah, I've
All right.
already warned Philip that I'm going to cut him off a bunch of times, just FYI. But one of the things is if I see that some of your questions are really compelling, I might actually bring it up. But if not, please
Yeah.
be patient. At the end of the webinar, we're going to have our Q&A. So feel free to put up questions in the Q&A box or in the chat box. All right, go ahead, Philip.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Ben. So as we move into the core of today's discussion, we want to start off by talking about the strategic imperatives that every executive has to understand when it comes to AI-driven leadership. And the first key idea is that AI, it's a strategic imperative. We have written here, and artificial intelligence, it's no longer something as a futuristic concept. It's now a core driver of all of our strategic decisions, risk management, and just giving us a competitive advantage over every other industry. Now, companies that integrate AI into their decision-making process, they're not just improving their efficiency, they're setting themselves apart from their competitors. They think of organizations like we have Tesla, we have Amazon, Microsoft, which we'll see some case studies coming up. They don't just treat AI as an add-on. They use it to shape strategy, to forecast outcomes, and just manage potential risks that they might be facing. And that's the mindset shift executives have to make. Now, AI is now going to be part of the business DNA, not just a department initiative. And moving forward, we're going to move from awareness to mastery. And as we step into 2025, it's not enough for leaders to just understand what AI is. They have to master it. They have to know how to apply it to their strategy and how to get the best return on investment from it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So that includes areas like automation, predictive analytics, and especially ethical governance. So really, a true AI-driven leader, they know how to balance innovation with their responsibility. The third point we're going to look at here is that boardroom accountability has really evolved. So we have regulators, we have investors, and even public now expect executives to demonstrate clear AI governance and ethical oversight. So leaders are now being asked tough questions like, how are algorithms making biased decisions? How can we prevent bias? Because the AI, it's not always going to give you a perfect outcome. We have to keep altering our input to get better outcomes from it. The AI is only as smart as the data that it's trained on. So there will be times where bias comes out, and we'll see some of that with ethical AI in a bit here. And we'll see some ways to move around that, because that's one of the biggest issues that a lot of leaders are facing. And finally, remember that technology, it's only half the challenge. Many organizations, they fail with AI because not because of the technology aspect itself, but because humans and the cultural side of things, we have to develop a trust, because there's AI is never going to be used if the humans aren't trusting it. Because one of the biggest questions that I always get asked is AI going to replace humans, or what's going to be the outcome of all that? And the short answer is, in my opinion, AI is not there to replace humans. It's there to aid them. It's there to assist them and just make their jobs easier. Okay. So when you think about AI in your organization, don't just ask, what can AI do for you? Instead, ask, how can our leadership and culture evolve to make the most of AI? How can we adapt with it? How can we use it to stay competitive and just be our virtual assistant there?
So why is this important now in 2025? You're saying go from awareness to
Yeah.
mastery. First of all, like mastery for an executive, that's kind of scary. Like it's scary for me to
Yeah.
think, oh, I got to be master of AI because I'm like master of nothing. I gotta have technical people to be masters. And then second, why 2025?
Yeah, great question. So 2025 is the year where AI moves from, again, that conversation to now a competition. For the past few years, leaders, they've talked about AI in theory, okay, reading headlines and experimenting with small pilot projects. But now organizations mastering AI, they're the ones that are really setting the pace for where we're moving toward in the future, for productivity and just having a better profitability as well. And executives, they can't afford to just know about AI anymore. In a sense, they have to understand how to lead with it. So that means integrating AI in all of your strategies, governance models, and even a boardroom discussion. So in short, now the term AI mastery, it's now a leadership skill, not just a technical one. And so it's really just about keeping your organization competitive against others that are already adapting to this AI driven future.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So now that we've established that AI is a strategic imperative, let's talk about why it's no longer optional for leaders. So just to build on what we just covered. So the world here, it's reached the point where AI adoption, it directly determines your competitive strength. Whether we're looking at manufacturing, marketing, or finance, the organizations using AI are the ones gaining speed and innovation and the cost advantages that define market leaders today. So, for example, we have it on the slide. Think of Tesla's AI-fueled factory. It uses a lot of machine learning and robotics that allow production lines to constantly adjust in real time. And this minimizes errors, it speeds up production, and just reduce overall costs for us, giving Tesla a clear competitive advantage over traditional automakers. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's not just all about efficiency. Customer expectations have also shifted dramatically. Another example we have, look at Netflix. About 80% of the content people watch, they come from AI-powered recommendations. So now when you watch a movie or a show on Netflix, you're getting a personalized experience where Netflix is recommending something for you to watch next. Okay, same thing for Amazon. If you make a purchase on a product, they recommend, do you want this one as well? Because this is what other people have purchased based on what you just bought. So everything now is going to be more personalized and tailored to your needs. And the next major factor is that regulators are also watching. So we have governments and compliance bodies all around the world, like the European Union with the EU AI Act. They're introducing strict rules around transparency, fairness, and bias mitigation. And in other words, what that means is if the AI makes a harmful decision for you, you need to know why that AI made the decision. For example, let's say that you applied for a loan to a bank, and the bank denied your loan to an AI system. You have the right to know why the bank make this decision. Why this robot deny me for a loan? And also transparency. You need to know when you're interacting with an AI versus when you're talking to a physical human. because nowadays all those online chatbots that we go through, that they're all automated, they're all AI systems. So it's a big shift, and that's really something that they need to be transparent about. And the laws are going to be shifting. EU already adopted it with that EU AI Act. We'll see a bit more of that here in just a second. But all laws are going to have to adapt to all the new AI tools coming out as well. And finally, firms without AI, they're losing ground. So organizations, like we said, that hesitate to adopt AI, they face rising customer churn, lower productivity, and just shrinking market relevance altogether in today's digital first economy. And the gap between AI leaders and AI laggards, they're growing wider every single year. So the message here is very simple. AI is not really a choice anymore. It's a condition for survival. Okay, and leaders who embrace it are going to continue to drive growth and innovation, and just again stay competitive with other competition.
What would you say if, I mean, for smaller businesses especially, right? A lot of the fear is about the cost and complexity of doing AI right, right? And I mean, there's always so many potholes when you're kind of going on this road of AI, right? And
Yeah.
so what would you say in terms of, if they're worried about this, how can they handle this and participate, you know, have a meaningful participation in this transformation and be able to kind of keep this as a strategic imperative?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I hear that a lot in my classes. So smaller firms, ones that don't really have that budget, they can start off with smaller pilot projects. Today's ecosystem, they include a lot of low code, low cost AI tools, co-pilot management tools, and cloud services that can eliminate the need for a lot of massive in-house data science teams. So what I'd say, it's not about owning AI, it's about just leveraging it in small pilot projects first. So partnering with trusted vendors and just investing staff in upskilling. That's why when we do these AI cert classes, I push it so much that upskilling and reskilling is probably the most important thing, because now it's not about learning it. It's really about how you can interact and use AI in your current field. And AI certs, they have a course for virtually every single job role, whether it's sales, manufacturing, healthcare. There's going to be a cert for that role, and it's going to show you how that role has already adopted AI. So I would say the biggest thing is just focus on upskilling your employees. Let them see where AI can be used in their field so they can get a better idea. Get them in classes, get them training so they can start upskilling with the AI technology.
And would you say some of that is also just a lot of investment in time, not so much cost, in kind of understanding what AI can do for your industry?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's definitely an investment of time as well. And just because you want to, as an individual and employee as well, you want to stay competitive also, because the employers, they're going to be the ones going after the employees that have the AI training already. So I always stress it, like lifelong learning. It's all about staying competitive, staying curious, and just learning about how the world is shifting, because we see it. Everything's adapting so quickly. We need to stay ahead of the game as well and just continue on with that lifelong learning.
Cool.
So now let's take a closer look at some of the global shifts here that are driving executives to adopt AI, not just for innovation, but again, that strategic necessity. The first major shift is that global regulation, it's tightening. So around the world, we saw laws like the EU AI Act. They're completely reshaping how organizations have to approach AI governance. And these laws, they require companies to ensure that their AI systems they're ethical, they're explainable, and they're free from all bias. So this means boards can no longer take a hands-on approach. They have to be able to demonstrate responsible oversight and compliance at every single level. So in other words, ethical AI has now become a boardroom priority. The second shift here is what we call the AI arms race across industries. So from fintech and healthcare to manufacturing and retail, companies are investing billions of dollars into AI talent, data infrastructure, and of course, research. The goal here is speed, it's insight, and of course, efficiency. Okay, executives, again, like we said, who recognize that whoever learns to leverage AI first, they're going to be the ones that are leading the market. And hey, that's why organizations are recruiting chief AI officers, AI program directors, and just any cross-functional data teams to stay ahead of this new AI race. The third major shift that we see here on the slide, we have customer expectations are now global. So whether your customers are in Paris, Palo Alto, They all expect smart, personalized, and seamless data experience. So and that's only possible through AI. The same way Netflix curates shows or Amazon predicts what you're going to buy next, every company is now expected to deliver intelligent interactions that feel uniquely tailored to every single user. So it's now an expectation for your customers that they want this personalization. Okay, and finally, stakeholder accountability is rising. So investors, boards, and regulators, they want that transparency, not just in financial reporting, but also in how AI systems are built, tested, and of course governed. So that they want the assurance there that these AI models are of course ethical. They're not showing any bias to people. And this shift means that AI governance is no longer optional paperwork. It's there to build trust and reputation. So when we talk about AI adoption, in a sense, it's not about keeping up with the technology. It's about keeping up with the world's expectations in terms of legal, financial, and social.
So one of the issues I see is, okay, so there's this AI arms race, right, that you're talking about. The problem is, especially if you're a smaller or a mid-sized business, one of the fears is that what if you go the wrong way? What if you spend some money and you're really following short-term hype? How can boards make sure that their investments are building towards, that sustainable advantage instead of, the short-term hype, which can really take you kind of the wrong direction?
Also, great question. So boards, they need to think beyond traditional AI projects and really focus on the principles first. So the winners will be those who use AI to build long-term capabilities, better data pipelines, better decision-making structures, and chasing hype cycles in a sense. They can create short bursts of attention, but if you want to get the sustainable advantage, it comes from integrating AI governance, ethics, and just scalability in every phase of business. So again, I'll just look at it in terms of principles. Look at the long-term capabilities rather than just having that short burst of attention. Great. So let's get into some of our case studies now. We're going to talk about two big ones here. We have Netflix first. We're going to look at Tesla next. And the first one, Netflix. So this case study, it demonstrates how Netflix uses AI to deliver personalization at scale, driving both customer satisfaction and long-term retention of your customers. Okay. So first things first, let's talk about the hyper personalized recommendations. Netflix AI agents, they analyze a huge amount of user behavior data, everything from your genre preferences and watch history to device usage, and even the time of day that you log in. Based on that data, the AI suggests content tailored to your taste. In fact, like we said earlier, about 80% of all content watched on Netflix originates from these AI-powered recommendations. That means without AI, most people wouldn't even find what they end up watching. Okay. Next is layered AI techniques. So Netflix, it doesn't rely on just one type of algorithm. It combines collaborative filtering, which what that means is it compares you to other users with similar taste. Okay, so similar taste, content-based filtering, and it's going to recommend you things based on what you're watching, and also if others are watching the same thing, they're going to use that collaboration to make it more personalized and give you a more human-like feel to it. Okay. Now, what makes this even more impressive is the dynamic adaptation. So Netflix recommendation algorithm, it doesn't just stay static. It learns and evolves with every single click, skip, or pause. So if you start watching more documentaries this month, for example, or if you tend to watch comedies at night, the AI is going to adjust in real time, even based on the day, time, and platform you're using. Okay. And finally, there's an engagement boost as well. All of this personalization directly translates into business impact. And Netflix AI model, it helps reduce customer churn, increase your overall watch time, and just enhance user satisfaction. That's why today, in today's AI-driven world, personalization, it supports over 260 million global users. And it's one of the biggest reasons Netflix, it maintains dominance in the streaming industry. So bringing that back into AI in the boardroom, this is a perfect example of how leadership decisions and investing in AI strategy and just data infrastructure can turn into a long-term competitive advantage. Netflix doesn't just use AI technology's sake. it uses it to drive engagement, loyalty, and just overall revenue. So again, everything that we do nowadays, it's all going to be AI based. Even think about your GPS when you want to drive somewhere. Let's say at 5 p.m. every single day, you drive to the gym. So now you get into your car and your GPS automatically recommends, do you want to route to the gym? It's all using that based on your personal preference, based on your tailored personalization.
So yeah, I remember. I remember. I think we've all done this. I have profiles for everybody in my family. I end up in my son's profile by mistake, and I'm like, oh, get me out of here. So, because he likes all Japanese cartoons and so forth. I like science fiction, but not, anyway. But, so like layered techniques, right? So you're talking about collaborative filtering, content-based, and so on and so forth. I mean, do these things, do they work separately? How do they work together? I mean, and I guess from an executive perspective, you know, how do I access, I mean, how do they work together and how does that, I guess I'm trying to figure out how that helps us as executives who are just getting started.
Yeah, for sure. So Netflix, it uses a stacked approach to AI, meaning multiple models working together at the same time. So first, one algorithm will analyze what you've watched. Another will predict what you might enjoy next. Okay, and yet another adjusts the thumbnails and the titles you see. So that there's so many models working at the same time to make it more personalized for you. It's not just one model. They're taking what you watched, movies that you started watching, stopped watching, things that you paused. So there's so many different tools in place that are making it personalized for you. So that to answer your question, yeah, it's a lot of tools that are just working together, multiple models, and this
Okay.
creates a seamless feedback loop where data prediction and presentation all reinforce each other, keeping the user more hooked, improving the recommendation accuracy.
So we shouldn't be limited to any one model or any one technology because we really,
Exactly.
from an executive standpoint, we're really looking at a long-term strategy. The technology
Yep.
could even change all the time.
Exactly, and that's the biggest thing that we're looking at today because we're adapting to how technology is changing. As things around us change, we have to adapt to it as well. So I would definitely say that multiple models should always be used to get the best experience.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So let's shift our focus here. We're going to now look at how Tesla uses AI as well, and we know this is a big one with all their self-driving cars. So Tesla, it's honestly one of the best examples of how automation can lead to a strategic difference. So every part of their production process, from assembly to logistics, has been optimized using artificial intelligence systems. Okay, and the first component is AI-driven robotics and automation. So Tesla here, they use these AI-powered robots across its factories to perform tasks like welding, painting, assembly. And these robots, they operate with precision, with speed, consistency, just reducing a lot of human error. Because again, think of humans manually doing this. They're doing this for hours and hours, days and days. And there's bound to be some errors here and there. But if you have a machine doing it, the machine does it exactly the same way every single time. The machine doesn't get tired. It just keeps working. So that's one of the biggest things with automation. It's there to reduce the potential of human error. And again, human error, it's not an uncommon thing. It happens. We get tired. Robots, they don't get tired. Next, we have predictive maintenance at scale. So Tesla, it leverages machine learning models to forecast equipment failures before they even happen. So by predicting which machines might need service or repair, the company can reduce any unplanned downtime. So these machines now, they're even predicting, saying that this part might fail soon, that this part is going to have an equipment failure, it's going to need a repair, and we can now prepare for that failure before it actually happens. Okay, another essential element is AI computer vision for quality control. So Tesla uses real image recognition systems to detect even the smallest defects during productions. And these systems, they analyze parts, materials, and finished vehicles as they move along that assembly line. So when an issue is detected, it's automatically flagged for review. Now, this approach, it not only improves your product quality, but also reduces waste and rework, making operations much more efficient and cost effective there. Okay? And the last thing we want to talk about in terms of Tesla is their supply chain optimization. So AI plays a key role in tracking inventory, forecasting demand, and just managing all of their logistics. With these systems in place, Tesla, like we said, they can anticipate any supply fluctuations and quickly adopt to changes when there's a global demand. So when we combine all these factors from robotics to predictive maintenance, computer vision, Tesla gains something every company wants. They get the speed, they get scalability and control. And it's really a masterclass in how executives can use AI not just to cut costs, but also to create an entirely new business advantage. So just to summarize it, Tesla shows us all of this in their AI in manufacturing. It's not just about machines replacing people. It's about machines learning alongside people to produce faster and more accurate results.
It's management 101, right? If you're not measuring it, you're not really managing it.
Yep.
How are these companies, and I guess also for small to medium-sized businesses, how can boardroom or executives um, quantify AI's impact? If they move to an AI strategy, how can they measure the impact that it has on their organization?
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So I would always say start by defining what success is first. So what would success look for you look like in your company's eyes? Okay, and those metrics might go beyond cost savings. Look for KPIs, your key performance indicators, tied to efficiency, decision accuracy, customer retention is always a big one. So just always define what success would look like for you. What do you hope to accomplish with these AI tools? Okay, AI ROI as well, your return on investment. It often shows up also for better forecasting and improved experience as well. Even if the dollar value isn't immediate, it could be something coming back to in the long term. So I would always say just always define what success looks like for you first. What metrics do you hope to hit, and then see how you go about hitting them. How are you reaching those numbers? Awesome. So now that we've seen how AI transforms industries like media, with Netflix and manufacturing and Tesla, let's talk about how it's reshaping the executive decision making process itself. So for years, leaders have relied on dashboard filled charts, KPIs, and metrics, but those tools were primarily reactive tools. They told us what had already happened. In today's fast moving environment, executives, we want to be more so proactive now rather than reactive. We want to act before these things happen. So let's start with the idea of AI as an executive co-pilot. So instead of simply relying on reporting on data, AI now powers real-time simulation, scenario planning, and automated insights. So imagine being able to ask your system, what would happen if we change our pricing by 5%? Or how will next quarter's revenue be affected if supply costs rise? So AI co-pilots can model those possibilities instantly. And it's really going to give us an advantage there because now we can see what our proactive strategy will be rather than just, like we said, reacting. The next major shift that we have here is dynamic and contextual intelligence. So unlike static dashboards that simply show us a lot of fixed numbers, right? AI co-pilots understand context. It understands the why behind the data. So they draw from live information, market signals, and organizational priorities to surface what really matters the most. And instead of a long list of KPIs, executives can see now what actions need to be done based on our evolving landscape. Then we're going to move from KPIs to our actionable strategy. Okay, so AI tools, they're no longer presenting metrics for us. They connect those metrics to strategic decisions. So, for example, instead of just showing that customer churn is increased, an AI system can now recommend specific retention strategies based on behavior patterns and predictive models. So this helps leaders close the loop between insight and execution. And finally, from the recommendations, we have adaptive executive workflows. So tools like Microsoft Copilot, we have Salesforce Einstein. They're changing the way that executives work. Instead of manually reviewing reports, leaders can use AI copilots to generate summaries, highlight risks, and even draft strategic proposals. So we now have AI handling all the busy, the repetitive work for us, where leadership now can focus on the contextual side of things. So I
Well,
would say
this is
that.
actually really useful because, well, I mean, from my perspective, from an
Yeah.
executive perspective, I started my career as a data analyst and data guy. And we use the DIKW model, which is we start with data, you go to information, which is spreadsheets, then you go to knowledge, which is the graphic stuff. And then you have to go from knowledge to wisdom, and that takes a lot more experience. What you're saying here is that you can use these tools to kind of help you get that wisdom as well, right? And some strategic maybe advice. What's the first step towards doing something like this, moving towards something like this?
Yeah, a great question there. So the first step I would say is definitely let's go with experimentation. So start using co-pilots for data queries, or even just to draft yourself an email, or even like some of our people in here today, they're using it as a note taker. You can use it in small pilots first, just see how it can assist you and take away some of that busy work for you. And once leaders they see the speed and intelligence that AI brings, they'll naturally want to integrate it into almost every decision making flow that they're using. I would say, again, just start small, use it for pilot experiment projects, and just see where it can assist you slightly, and then make it a bigger change, make it part of your long term business strategy. So just think of it as augmentation, not replacing. Human judgment is still going to be there. We still need humans to make the final decision of everything. AI just do the busy work for us.
Okay.
Awesome. So now let's get into a very important topic here. That's going to be AI risk and governance. So every organization that embraces AI has to also embrace the ethical oversight and strong governance. So the first major point here is that ethical oversight is now a leadership duty. Because what I mean by that is, who's going to be to blame if the AI makes a harmful decision? Is it the person who created it? Or is it the organization? Is it the CEOs? Someone has to be at fault if the AI does make a harmful decision. So executives can no longer delegate these issues to IT or legal departments alone. There has to be clear policies for AI transparency, for fairness, and of course, bias mitigation across all enterprise applications. So this means being able to explain how AI decisions are made, ensuring that the data is unbiased, and maintaining accountability. Because again, this data and these decisions, they can really impact people's lives. So we have to be as transparent as possible, and we want to be able to mitigate as much bias as we can. So the example I gave earlier, if an AI system makes a hiring or a loan decision based on an automatic system, leaders need to ensure that the underlying data is fair, and it's not just a compliance issue. Okay, so really the biggest thing, we want to build trust, and we want to build a reputation for these AI systems, because we see it now all the time that we use AI tools to just automatically scan through resumes to find candidates for a job, and that's not always the fairest thing in people's eyes. They want to know, why were we denied by a robot? Same thing for the loan example I gave earlier. Why were you denied by a loan from a robot when I want to get an answer from a human? The second point is that compliance frameworks are emerging globally. So regulations, we said, like the EU AI Act and the US Algorithmic Accountability Act, they're now setting new standards for AI governance. And these frameworks, they require companies to assess the risk level of all of their AI systems, maintain transparency, and just document how all decisions are made. So for boards and executives, this introduces a lot of new legal liabilities, meaning AI governance is now a very big responsibility for us. Next, we need to recognize that AI bias can become a legal risk as well. And a good example of that is Amazon's failed AI recruitment tool, which unintentionally favored male applicants because it was trained on biased historical data. So when bias goes unchecked, it can lead to a lot of regulatory investigations and just reputational damage. And like we said earlier, the AI is only as smart as the data it's trained on. So that's why, even though we produce this great system, we have to constantly monitor it. We have to make sure it's working correctly, and it's still giving us the results that we first intended for. Because over time, as standards in the world change, your system may start producing biases. So we have to continuously retrain the system to make sure that it's working as intended.
Wow. So now we have to be concerned with compliance regimes with AI. Is there one in the US versus Europe, or and then you know, can we find a way to simplify our compliance, you know, without losing our heads over it, I guess.
Yeah, good, great question. So simplifying AI compliance, it starts with alignment and automation. So rather than just chasing every new frameworks like NIST, ISO, the EU AI Act, companies should create a single governance structure that maps requirements across all of them. So you using AI tools for automated risk classification, model documentation, bias detection, they can drastically reduce compliance fatigue. And it's all about building compliance by design into your AI system, not treating it as an afterthought. So when we build these AI systems, we want to train it with compliance in mind. Don't wait until after the fact to do it. Do it while we're training the model. So do it ahead of time.
Okay.
Great. So now let's get into the topic here of ROI. So a very, very important one. So what's the return on investment of starting up with these AI projects? And the truth here is that AI ROI, it's multidimensional, meaning it's not just about cutting costs or increasing efficiency. Leaders have to also look at how AI drives innovation, speed, and just that competitive advantage. So, in other words, the true value of AI, it's not just financial, it's strategic, and it's about making the organization smarter and more adaptive. So, the first major factor to consider is cost optimization and productivity. AI driven automation, it allows businesses to streamline all of your repetitive tasks. We said it's there to reduce a lot of manual errors and just improve your operational efficiency. So, for example, an AI system can process invoices or detect fraud a lot faster than a human team can, freeing up your employees to focus on higher value work. And these efficiencies translate directly into measurable cost savings. But beyond cost savings, AI can also drive revenue growth and new value streams. And this is where AI becomes a growth engine rather than a cost cutter. So, through hyper personalized customer experiences and predictive analytics, AI enables organizations to identify new markets, new opportunities. For instance, we saw a company like Amazon, Spotify, they're using AI to recommend products and music in ways like to keep the users engaged. Okay, which again is going to boost your revenue, it's going to boost your loyalty. A third dimension here of ROI is risk reduction and compliance value. So effective AI governance, it doesn't just protect the company's reputation, it also reduces legal exposure by ensuring transparency, bias mitigation, and accountability. Like so, transparency, we need to know when we're interacting with an AI system versus a human. Bias mitigation, if the AI does make a harmful decision, how can we fix that? What can we do? And who's going to take responsibility? Who's going to be held accountable for that? So when measuring AI's impact, executives should look at four key lenses here. We want to look at cost efficiency is one. We have innovation, risk management, and just the strategic agility. And a strong AI program delivers all four, turning automation into true enterprise transformation. So in short, ROI, it goes beyond the spreadsheets. Okay, it's about measuring how artificial intelligence improves our decision making, how it builds a trust, okay, and just creates a long-term resilience across the organization.
What are some new AI focused KPIs out there that are at the executive and board levels that maybe weren't on our radars before?
But yeah, great. So I would say some new KPIs out there would definitely be customer satisfaction. So we're looking at how because like we said, customers they're now expecting this change. They're not expecting everything to be personalized and automated. So they're not even looking forward to how traditional business was done in the past. They want everything to be done right away, no delays, no lag time. So I would say the customer satisfaction time is probably one of the biggest KPIs that have now shifted. They're looking for that faster automated response from everything.
Interesting.
Great. So building on that, we're going to get into that case study again where we mentioned earlier, where we saw Amazon's failed AI hiring algorithm, which again, it's going to highlight one of the most important lessons in modern leadership. So let's start here with the background and intent first. So Amazon, they developed an AI-driven recruitment tool with the goal of automating candidate screening and identifying top talent from resumes. Now, the idea is very simple here. Let AI analyze patterns from the company's most successful employees and use those insights to rank new applicants more efficiently. But here's where the problem started, the bias in the data. So the AI model was trained on historical hiring data, and that data was heavily favored and heavily dominated by male applicants, especially in technical roles. Now, because of this imbalance, the applicant learned to favor men and penalize women in its recommendations. So, for example, resumes that included terms like women's chess club or female college were scored lower than others. And this leads us to the reputation and compliance fallout. Once the bias was discovered, Amazon immediately scrapped the whole system, but the damage was already done there, right? So it raised concerns across the whole tech industry about how easily bias can spread through AI systems. Okay, and again, it's all up to the training data. If you're using older, outdated training data for this, biases will be there. So even if you did use that older data, it's going to be very important to keep stressing. You have to keep retraining the model, monitoring the model, making sure that it's making the correct decisions. Now, this incident triggered industry-wide discussions about responsible AI use and became a tale that every executive should learn from. So the biggest lessons learned here: first, bias auditing, it's not optional. It's going to be a very essential thing. We have to continuously monitor the model. Second, organizations have to implement explainable AI systems that should show why the AI made a particular decision. Okay, and third, companies have to prioritize data sourcing, ensuring that the AI from a board balanced range of inputs is there. We want to make sure that we're getting training data from every demographic, from every single ethical design to create the best possible training data. So the key takeaway here, I'd say, is going to be trustworthiness. And it all begins with creating a trust with the users and creating an ethical system from ahead of time when creating the AI's training data.
Okay, good to know.
Yep. So moving forward here, we're going to get into navigating market volatility now. So when we look at this here, the first key element is going to be predictive analytics for volatility. AI models today, they can forecast demand, the cash flow, market trends with very high accuracy, if not perfect. So by analyzing massive amounts of historical and real-time data, AI helps executives anticipate potential disruptions, whether it's a supply chain shortage or currency fluctuation or even a demand spike. And it helps us plan accordingly to that stuff. So that's why predictive analytics, that's one of the biggest advantages. It's, again, about being proactive rather than reacting when something bad does happen. So it's giving us that foresight before problems become an actual crisis. Next, we have AI and supply chain resilience. So machine learning systems, they can track inventory and shipping data in real time, helping companies respond to any delays, shortages, transportation breakdowns. For example, if a shipment gets delayed at one port, AI can instantly reroute orders or adjust production schedules to minimize downtime. And this helps reduce a lot of financial losses and just ensure smoother operational continuity. Third concept we're looking at here is going to be scenario modeling for crisis response. AI co-pilots can simulate what-if scenarios and predict how certain events might impact the business, such as a global conflict or maybe a natural disaster. So these simulations, they help executives prepare proactively for these potential incidents if they do happen. And finally, we have continuous learning loops. So one of the most powerful features of AI is that it learns and adapts over time. So each time it receives new data or feedback, it refines the model to reflect changing market conditions. So the more you input the AI, it's getting smarter, it's learning over time. And it's really a self-improving system that becomes more accurate and reliable the longer that we use it. So the takeaway here is simple. Resilient organizations, they use AI not just for automation, but really for anticipation. Okay, they're going to leverage AI to stay one step ahead of market volatility, ensuring that their strategies, supply chains, and all of their financial plans, they can withstand all sudden change. So that's really one of the biggest benefits there. We're able to use this model to go through potential scenarios where AI might target us, or where these incidents can really have a negative impact on us. We could simulate them first before the fact that they do happen. So again, just staying proactive rather than being reactive to it. Awesome. So when we talk about leading in the age of artificial intelligence, the conversation has moved beyond technology and into people and culture. So really here, to truly succeed with AI, organizations have to build AI ready leadership teams. So executives who not only understand the technology, but also know how to align it with their strategy and human values. So the first concept is going to be AI fluency as a core competency. Executives don't need to be, again, data scientists, but they have to be able to understand AI's capabilities, understand its limits, and all the ethical implications of it. Without that understanding, it's impossible to make informed strategic decisions. And in practice, that means knowing what AI can automate, what it can predict, and where human judgment must still play that central role. We also see things like cross-functional collaboration. So we covered it a bit earlier, but AI success, it doesn't happen in isolation. It requires collaboration between your data scientists, your engineers, your domain experts, business leaders. Essentially, everyone comes together to share knowledge and break down what's going on. So, for example, a marketing executive working with AI, they need to understand how the model impacts customer behavior, while data teams need to understand how the business context it works behind the model. So again, we're taking individuals from every group, and we're going to collaborate and share knowledge there. The third principle is going to be emotional and ethical intelligence. So being an AI ready leader, it's not just about being technically informed, it's about being ethically grounded. So leaders have to blend analytical thinking with empathy, transparency, and fairness. And this ensures that decisions powered by AI also respect people, their privacy, and any societal impact. Okay, and finally, we have upskilling and continuous learning. So the biggest one, in my opinion, the most forward-thinking organizations can do is going to be investing in leadership academies, AI boot camps, and continuous professional development programs. And these efforts, they help executives stay ahead of any technological change and just ensure that organizations have that talent for any future change when it comes to shifting to a more AI-driven future. So again, we do have all these courses that are tailored to AI specific roles, where it's going to be there to upskill you, to help you stay competitive.
Yeah, so you know,
Yeah.
I think in some ways, AI is just software, right? And at first I started thinking, well, it's just the next version of software. It has more capabilities. And I realized it's such a huge leap in capacity and capability. It is the next version of software, but it is just software. And really all software, soon enough, if it hasn't already, will integrate this technology. But in such a huge leap in capability that it allows for a change in the way business is done, right? And even a change in your business model, and as well as, of course, the way you do your processes. So it's a huge evolution we have to be ready for. How does that, how would, I guess, what is the role of learning in that regard in terms of evolving with the capabilities?
Yeah, for sure. So continuous learning, again, it's not optional. It's something that we need to do to stay AI ready in a sense. Same thing with any technologies. From my personal standpoint, I teach a lot of CompTIA classes, Cisco classes. Those exams, they change every few months, and we have to stay ahead of the game because they added now those exams, they actually added AI technologies to them. So we have to do continuous learning to be able to keep teaching them to students. So I would say, as the world changes, and we know everything changes very quickly, continuous learning is the best thing that we can do to stay AI ready. We have to just keep adapting to new technology changes, new cycles. Leadership skills have to evolve as well. And executives should regularly engage in a lot of AI literacy programs and boot camp training to keep their employees ahead of the game, also to stay AI ready.
Boy, everything's moving so fast these days. If you don't
Yeah.
continuously learn, Yeah, you're falling behind.
Hmm. Awesome. So yeah, but just building a bit more on that, as organizations they continue to integrate AI into their operations, we're seeing a complete transformation here in leadership structures and workforce roles. So the biggest thing here, AI isn't just changing what we do; it's changing how companies are organized to support innovation and ethics and just continuous learning. So let's begin here with the rise of new executive roles. Across industries, companies are introducing roles like chief AI officer, head of data ethics, AI program director, and these leaders they're responsible for ensuring that the AI strategies align with overall business goals. Okay. Next, we have data and AI fusion teams. So these are again cross-functional groups that combine analytics, engineering, and strategy expertise. Their job is to operationalized AI's impact. So, in other words, to make sure that AI driven insights actually translate into action across every single department in the organization. Okay. Third point we have here governance embedded in structure. So, forward thinking organizations, they aren't treating ethics as an afterthought, they're building it directly into their organizational design. And many companies are now forming AI ethics boards and compliance review committees just to ensure accountability at entry level. So this institutional approach to governance helps make AI ethics part of our everyday operations rather than just a set of written policies here. And finally, continuous capability building. The most successful organization are those that treat AI education as an ongoing commitment. They invest in internal learning academies, mentorship systems, and we said AI boot camps just to ensure that their employees they have all the at every level too, from executives to analysts. They have the key tools to stay ahead of the game and build on that technical expertise when it comes to an AI driven shift.
I love the term AI fusion team. That sounds
Yeah.
pretty cool, Anyway, let's keep going we got 5 minutes.
Yep. Yep. So building more on that here. AI it's about scaling responsibly and sustainably. So phase one here, we have strategic alignment. Before diving into AI projects, executives need to clarify and identify where AI delivers measurable value. So this is about asking what business problems are we solving? Okay. Phase two, data readiness and governance. Once the strategy is clear to us, the next step is ensuring data quality, accessibility, and ethical compliance. So this involves auditing all of your existing data for accuracy, cleaning up any redundant entries, and just establishing your compliance frameworks. Okay, phase three, we're going to get into pilot and validate. So at this stage, organizations they're going to deploy targeted pilot projects to test AI models in a controlled environment. So this really it's going to allow teams to evaluate performance, identify any risk, and just measure your ROI before scaling. Okay, and then finally, phase four, we have scale and institutionalize. So once the pilots succeed, the next step is to integrate AI into your enterprise workflows across other departments. So this is where AI moves from a side project to part of the organization's DNA. And companies at this level, they establish continuous learning systems where AI models, they're evolving over time through retraining and performance monitoring. So just always remember, sustainable AI adoption is a journey from alignment to readiness, from validation to scale, and every phase builds a foundation for the next. So with that being said, we're going to move into 2025 here, and we're going to look at a playbook for 2025. So the first principle that we have here for this is going to be align AI with your core strategy. So too often, companies treat AI as a tech experiment or a side project. But the truth is, AI must be part of your business DNA, directly tied to your company's mission, their goals, their KPIs. The second pillar here is operationalize governance. So leadership excellence in AI depends on trust, and that means embedding ethical and compliance frameworks across organizations. Okay. Then we also have invest in your people, not just the platforms. That's really the biggest one that we like to stress here. True AI transformation, it's not about buying new software. It's not about buying the coolest things. It's about developing the leaders and the teams within the organization. Okay, and that again continues to stress continuous learning. And finally, measure and communicate impact. So every AI initiative must have measurable outcomes tied to efficiency, innovation, and trust. So executives should regularly evaluate their return on investment, not just in a financial term, but in terms of how AI improves your decision making and just reduce overall bias. So, in short, to finish up here, the executive playbook for 25, it's about balance, aligning AI with purpose and embedding ethics into the entire operations, investing in your people, and just measuring results with transparency there. Awesome.
Those KPIs.
Yep. Awesome. So with that being said, that's going to come to the end of my presentation here. So I'll send it back over to you, Ben.
Okay. Um, what's your advice for executives who feel overwhelmed by by all of this? Like, oh, I don't even know where to start. Going back to the previous slide, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we have, if you don't mind going back to the previous slide, because that's kind of like
Oh,
the real, there we go, right? So aligning AI with course, I mean, that's can sounds easy, but it can be overwhelming, right? Um, to say, okay, where am I going to use AI? And AI is
yeah.
changing so much. What's your advice for people who might be feeling like a little bit overwhelmed with all of this?
Of course, and I get that question in almost every class that we teach. So I always answer just start small, but start now. Begin by using AI tools in your daily workflow, co-pilots for summarizing meetings, AI dashboards for forecasting things together, or even just chat-based insights for operations. Just a small pilot project, it can go a long way. And when you see how much AI can benefit you, you're going to want to start implementing in everything that you do. So we're going to start small and then build your confidence and expand from there. And the key really in that, your question is just stay curious, stay and just stay in motion, because standing still is the only way to fall behind in the age of AI. So definitely start now, but start small.
How do you see that definition of leadership, just leadership as a whole, or being an effective leader, evolve now that AI is in it?
Yeah, great question. So as far as the next generation of leaders go, the next generation will be AI literate. They're going to be ethically grounded, because those are the two ones that we want to stress. It's one thing to just produce these systems, but you want the systems to be ethical. So effective leadership won't just mean setting direction. It's going to mean navigating all of the uncertainty with intelligence and just being transparent and empathetic. So AI is going to amplify what's human in leadership. So we have our judgment, we have the creativity, we have the vision. That's the stuff that AIs can never replace. AI is never going to have that judgment call. They're never going to have the creative vision that leaders do. AI is just there to speed up the repetitive tasks for us so that we can focus on the vision of things.
All right, let's go back to that final slide, just so everybody
Yeah.
gets our contact information. We're here. We are a representative of AI certs. We do train in AI certs, guys. And thank you, Philip. This was actually pretty cool. I learned some things, and everybody for thank you, Sean, for that. It's good to see you here, Sean. But in any case, I think what the key here is we got to stay relevant. We got to stay on top of this stuff. And this is a really great roadmap to doing so. So thank you for that, Philip. And by the way, guys, quantum computing is coming next. So just be prepared for that one. So you got to get the AI thing right because quantum computing is coming. We'll get to that maybe in the next webinar or the one after. Who knows? All right, guys, thank you very, very much for coming in. You're all going to get your certificate, as we said.
Yep.
And again, thank you, Philip. Bye, everybody.
Yep. Thank you for having me, Ben. Have a good day, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Valerie. Good to see you as well.